The President of the Republic of Korea is the head of state and head of government of South Korea. The President is the head of the executive branch of the government of South Korea as well as being the Commander-in-Chief of the Republic of Korea Armed Forces. The Constitution and the amended Presidential Election Act of 1987 provide for election of the President by direct, secret ballot, ending 16 years of indirect presidential elections under the preceding two governments. The President is directly elected to a 5-year term, with no possibility of re-election. If a presidential vacancy should occur, a successor must be elected within 60 days, during which time presidential duties are to be performed by the South Korean Prime Minister or other senior cabinet members in the order of priority as determined by law. While in office, the chief executive lives in Cheongwade and is exempt from criminal liability. Moon Jae-in, former human rights lawyer and chief of staff to then-President Roh Moo-hyun, assumed post of President of South Korea on 10 May 2017 immediately upon being elected with a plurality of 41.1%, in contrast to 24.0% and 21.4% won by his major opponents, conservative Hong Joon-pyo and centrist Ahn Chol-soo, respectively. Prior to the establishment of the First Republic in 1948, the Provisional Government of the Republic of Korea established in Shanghai in September 1919 as the continuation of several governments proclaimed in the aftermath of March 1 movement earlier that year coordinated Korean people's resistance against Japan during the Japanese occupation of Korea. The legitimacy of the provisional government has been recognized and succeeded by South Korea in the latter's original constitution of 1948 and the current constitution of 1988. The presidential term has been set at 5 years since 1988. It was previously set at 4 years from 1948 to 1972. 6 years from 1972 to 1981, and 7 years from 1981 to 1988. Since 1981, the president has been barred from re-election. Chapter 3 of the South Korean Constitution states the duties and the powers of the president. The president is required to. Also, the president is given the powers. If the National Assembly votes against a presidential decision, it will be declared void immediately. The President may refer important policy matters to a national referendum, declare war, conclude peace and other treaties, appoint senior public officials, and grant amnesty. In times of serious internal or external turmoil or threat, or economic or financial crises, the President may assume emergency powers for the maintenance of national security or public peace and order. Emergency measures may be taken only when the National Assembly is not in session and when there is no time for it to convene. The measures are limited to the minimum necessary. The 1987 Constitution removed the 1980 Constitution's explicit provisions that empowered the government to temporarily suspend the freedoms and rights of the people. However, the President is permitted to take other measures that could amend or abolish existing laws for the duration of a crisis. It is unclear whether such emergency measures could temporarily suspend portions of the Constitution itself. Emergency measures must be referred to the National Assembly for concurrence. If not endorsed by the Assembly, the emergency measures can be revoked. Any laws that had been overridden by presidential order regained their original effect. In this respect, the power of the legislature is more vigorously asserted than in cases of ratification of treaties or declarations of war, in which the Constitution simply states that the National Assembly has the right to consent to the President's actions. In a change from the 1980 Constitution, the 1987 Constitution stated that the President is not permitted to dissolve the National Assembly. The presidential election rules are defined by the South Korean Constitution and the Public Official Election Act. The President is elected by direct popular vote, conducted using first-past-the-post. The official residence of the President is Cheongwa-dae. It means, the House of the Blue Roof Tiles. So it is also called the Blue House, in English. The President is assisted by the staff of the Presidential Secretariat, headed by a cabinet-rank Secretary General. Apart from the State Council, or Cabinet, the Chief Executive relies on several constitutional organs. These constitutional organs included the National Security Council, which provided advice concerning the foreign, military, and domestic policies bearing on national security. Chaired by the President, the Council in 1990 had as its statutory members the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Ministers for Foreign Affairs, Home Affairs, Finance, and National Defense, the Director of the Agency for National Security Planning, which was known as the Korean Central Intelligence Agency until December 1998.